Why you working so hard? The world is ending. Yay! It's the apocalypse. Take a day off. It's so meaningless.
Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy. When the moon hits your eye like a spaghetti guy, that's amore.
This is the movie. This movie is why I knew that song, I realized as a kid.
We are the Mattitude Eric. I am Matt Fowler. Say hello, Erica Moray Goldman.
Hello, everybody.
So, how obviously that was a popular song before this movie, but was this the first time? Like, when we saw this movie, we were young, but also like,
This was
did I even know this? Did I know this song before this movie? Because this movie leans heavily on this song.
I don't think I knew it. I mean, not to say I'd never heard it, but it certainly wasn't on my consciousness. And then this movie, very popular movie that I saw multiple times.
Yeah.
And the song became sort of much more prevalent and brought it back. And so like after this, you would hear it in a lot more ads. Not to say it wouldn't have come back anyway, because things do.
Well, I was just wondering. So we're talking about the movie Moonstruck, 1987's many awards-winning rom-com Moonstruck, starring already famous and accomplished star of TV and song Cher, who had quite an 80s movie run and then kind of knocked it off after Mermaids. She still appeared in movies, but not like, I don't think she headlined movies after that.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing. She like had this, I mean, the year this came out, she was also in Witches of Eastwick, and yeah, it was like a big.
So if we're talking like 80s, like she went from like, I think it was like Silkwood, Mask, Suspect, Witches of Eastwick, Moonstruck, and then Mermaids, which are all home run bangers. And then I don't know, she was just like, I'm done, because she's done quite a bit. Then she obviously focused also on her recording career and had hit singles after that. This movie, where you wouldn't know it from the way we're talking about it, we're actually doing this movie for Nic Cage, who is, did he get nominated? Almost everyone got nominated for this movie.
I don't remember if he did,
but Olivia Dukakis won, Cher won.
But it solidified making him a star. As we talked about, Raising Arizona was a low-level hit, but Moonstruck was a huge hit. And so it kind of solidified that Nic Cage was now a star because of that movie.
When the moon shakes your hand, because you see the Batman, that's amore.
Yes.
So let's see. We're going to talk about Moonstruck in today's main event as part of our Nic Cage-a-thon. We've got an update on a news story that we talked about a few weeks ago, and then a new news story. And then we're going to get into some good things to enjoy. And then we're going to do the thing. All right, Eric. It is officially official that the Marvel Netflix shows are headed to America Disney Plus, because previously it was announced for Canada, just not for the US.
It kind of leaked for Canada, and there was a lot of assumptions that in other parts of the world it could go on Disney Plus, where Hulu doesn't exist, and they have that star tier, that little thing where like they can put adult content that we just don't have as an option.
And so we're getting the Daredevil, the Jessica Jones, the Luke Cage, the Iron Fist, the Defenders, the Punisher, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So not Netflix, but just old Marvel television. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will be added. What was that? 7 seasons?
7 seasons, yeah.
And this also came with the news that they will all roll out day before, I don't know.
I think day of.
A new parental control option on Disney Plus to prevent their children from seeing Kingpin smash a man's head into a grimy pulp in a car door.
Or a copious side boob without quite showing nipple in Punisher, as Jigsaw has sex with, I forget.
Or Jessica Jones and Luke Cage like breaking their bed,
right.
Fucking. Yeah. So.
But we get these shows never quite showed nudity, but there was a lot of thrusting.
Yeah.
And,
honestly, that's the most important part, if you ask me. So the motion, as if you will, the repetitive motion is the most important act. So, everyone's wondering, like, there was a pre-outcry for no reason, with everyone wondering if it would be censored because of what happened to Adventures in Babysitting. Maybe
and
that was
Splash.
The nudity in Splash, the one F-bomb in Adventures in Babysitting. But this would be like way more extensive if they were going to take like a scalpel to these shows. You know what I mean? They would have to do that. So it does seem easier in the end to just roll out that whatever. I don't know what form it will take, what the UI will be like for Disney Plus, but you could prevent your kiddos from seeing these shows and keep them sheltered forever in a bubble world of your own creation.
It's certainly interesting because like you said, we assumed it was going to go on Hulu just because of that's how things have been. Them deciding it to put on Disney Plus is a big paradigm shift. I mean, I think it means a couple things that stand out to me are they just want people to so solidly think about Marvel and Disney Plus that, this was a big bunch of stuff they were getting at once, getting back the rights to. So they wanted Disney Plus, but them deciding that they're going to put these parental controls, but put this content at all is a big move because look, again, we are more prudish in America in a lot of ways. And so, as we've joked about and talked about, we know,
especially when it comes to the side boob and the thrusting.
Right. But people love to point out on Twitter things that we already know. Like, did you know that Pam and Tommy and American Horror Story and all these things? Yes, we do, are on Disney Plus. In America, they're not, though. And it seemed like a big move just because there are much more people here that are like, Disney means something and never should these worlds mix. And I guess it surprises me because I do think eventually Hulu is unsustainable as a separate thing, right? Like eventually they'll probably switch it and they'll make it a hub like Star. I guess I'm surprised they're doing the little faucet that they're doing now. They're dipping their toes in with this. And I do think it probably means now there's a much better chance that the Deadpool movies and Logan come to Disney Plus eventually. With the parental controls on, just because it seems like they're like, we want you to think about Marvel and
Deadpool. There's absolutely no way to edit that.
No, that's well, they did do that different version of Deadpool too.
So, it actually makes me wonder why, if other places around the world don't have that same association with the Disney brand that we do, why that service isn't called something else elsewhere.
I mean, again, I do think the name value of Disney is so huge, though. It's like it does mean for certain like big entertainment. And in the past decade, it's meant Star Wars and Marvel.
Why couldn't they just call it ABC All Access?
Okay, freeform.
Yeah, something that rolls off the tongue and is super clear about what the content is.
Right.
All right. So, that's done and done. And within a few weeks here, we'll get those shows over onto Disney Plus. And let's see. And then the next bit of news here is pertinent to a movie opening this week. In fact, tomorrow night, as we record this on Wednesday evening, AMC, so this is just AMC Entertainment, is charging more for the Batman than they are for other movies. And I think people investigated and it came out to like $2 more. By the way, movies are super expensive now. I feel like I could do a whole side rant about things that just slowly and steadily became really expensive out of nowhere, like greeting cards and chapstick, which are both $6 now. Like out of printer ink was always expensive. Nuts were always weirdly expensive, but now it's like these other things have just crept up. I remember in the 80s when we would throw a fit when movies would go from like $5 to $6.50, and we were like, "Fuck," like what are we gonna do?
The weekend of your birthday, Matt, we saw Ghostbusters 2 as your birthday movie right before I left New York,
and I didn't invite Andrew Ralston because nobody wanted him there, and then we all had to pretend like we hadn't seen Ghostbusters 2.
I feel
bad about that.
um, but you distracted me with that. That was the weekend that New York movie theaters went up to $6. And New York has traditionally been the most expensive movie theaters, so that was a big deal.
It was. That's a huge chunk of change.
Yes.
You can get you get 6 slices of pizza for that back in the day. So I feel like, but now the movies are fucking like $17. So who gives a fuck? Like,
if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky. Unless you're the Batman. And basically the CEO said that for AMC, Adam Aaron said that they've been doing this in European theaters. Well, guess what? Here in the United States, buddy, everything is treated equally, whether it's the Batman or the not Batman. But anyway, I'm not going to AMC for that anyway. I don't like AMC theaters.
It really frustrated me because I want movie theaters to continue and to be sustained in a world where it's harder and harder to make them sustain. And this
does not help. This is not
help.
This is not work in their defense.
Because people have talked about, hey, one thing that could help is if all movies didn't cost the same expensive amount and you had some sort of tiers, whether it be like for smaller movies or shittier seats, all these different things. Of course, all they did was make a movie everyone wants to see $1 more expensive. They didn't lower the price.
Right. They didn't make other things cheaper, because we've talked about that before, how back when, movies were actually releasing during the pandemic online, stuff like Wonder Woman and then Black Widow would have, stuff like that, where a family of 4 saves a fuck ton of money,
right?
Which they would easily spend over $100 if they got also concessions going to the movies when they can spend $30 seeing it at home.
Yeah,
it saves so much money. Yeah.
So charging more for a movie people are going to pay to see is just it's a shitty thing to do, and it doesn't help you and your theaters sustain, except for the giant superhero movies that people are going to come to see anyway. And I love those movies, but I want people to see other movies, and you don't do that by keeping the price so crazy for those movies, and then saying there's even crazier price for the most popular one.
This is this is my story about AMC, which I consider to be a very mid-tier cinematic experience. Is that I worked in a movie theater. You worked in a movie theater. Movie theaters very traditionally make most of their profit off of concessions. That's why they're so expensive. The way they make movie money off of actual tickets sold is a whole weird contract with studios, and it has to do with the houses that they're in, how many weeks they've been in there. And now that they're barely in, now that every movie's barely in a movie theater for a month, it's even harder.
And Disney infamously is extra shitty and asks for more of their cut because they're like, hey, we've got the Marvels, we've got the Star Warses, so we get to keep even more of the money, saying because you're going to make more on concession. So
here's the deal with the concession. I'm vegan, so there's barely anything I can eat there outside of Sour Patch Kids, but like a pretzel, their Bavarian pretzel at AMC, it's probably even more expensive where you are. Where I am is $15 fucking for a pretzel. And if you're going to charge me $15 for a pretzel that's not shaped like Mickey Mouse, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like,
what if it was shaped like Batman? Like that.
I don't trust them to do any
little like that little Caesar
that looks like
calzone.
A maxi pad.
Yes.
That somehow gave the bat like a weird Bacardi butt. Like, why would they do that? Like, they can't even make a proper bat shape out of a pizza.
I will say the funny thing is that I am an AMC A-list member, and I think it is a very good deal as far as like what I'm paying a month. I easily, because I see a shitload of movies.
Yeah.
So once I see 2 movies, I've paid for my AMC A-list, but I realize that I am in the minority as far as how often I go to the movies, and this is hurting the casual film goer. Like it's hurting them, the theater, as I should say. It's hurting the theaters getting the casual film goer when they do shit like this, because the casual film goer isn't going to sign up for A-list. And the casual film goer is going to look at your ticket prices and go, what? And just not go.
And also, and this is, a third tier thing to care about, but like comparing box office, takes for movies now, if certain theaters are charging different ticket prices, right? I mean, certain theaters charge different ticket prices anyway, but like this screws up the whole system. Like comparing what the Batman ultimately makes, depending on how big AMC is, when you put it side by side with other movies, is always weird. But yeah, if you're charging more for a ticket in one theater than the other, and you're charging $15 for a fucking pretzel, then you can drive off a cliff in a flaming ambulance. So yeah. So your Alamo Drafthouse season pass or whatever it's called there is active.
Is back.
And they just brought it back to the draft houses in Austin. So it's got to come here back soon because I got to use it. You know, we all got to use it for like 2 weeks before everything shut down.
I saw 3 movies with it.
Yeah, I saw Emma. I'm trying to think like.
I know I saw I mentioned before the very last movie I saw before there was no theaters to go to in LA for over a year was the Brady Bunch movie at Alamo Drafthouse. I think I used it for Little Shop of Horrors, and I think I used it for Birds of Prey. Like my 3rd time seeing Birds of Prey was the other.
Birds of Prey, like Emma, and I think my final movie was actually one of the Alamo secret screenings that we have here for AGFA and other genre film archival places, which was Wing Chun with Michelle Yeoh from like 94 or something. All right, let's get into well, we have a few people here on Patreon chiming in with Nicolas Cage things because I asked last week. So here's some ideas. Joy writes in on Patreon. And by the way, you can write in on Patreon too by being a Patreon patron of our podcast at patreon.com/We Enjoy Podcast. And for a couple bucks a month, you can get and all the episodes of this podcast completely uninterrupted by commercials. So Jory writes in, hey, if you guys are taking Nicolas Cage requests, you should either do The Rock or Con Air because he has a great action run in the 90s. Mandy would be cool as well because after Wicker Man, I had kind of given up hope on him, but Mandy was so good. Maybe Bruce Willis will have a Mandy moment. Bruce Willis would have to try
again. He has to try. Yeah, it's like he has to act like he in any way wants to be on the set of the movies that he's doing right now.
They could give him a motorized wheelchair so that he could be in some action set pieces. So going back over Nicolas Cage's filmography of the past, I would say 8 years. He would do sort of like 5 or 6 movies a year.
Yep.
And most of them would be video on demand or straight to video. But then one of them would hit. Like none of them do well. But like one year he'll have like Mom and Dad. The other year he'll have Mandy.
One that'll get like critical and cult acclaim. Yeah.
Like 1 year's Pig, 1 year's like Color Out of Space. So he like always hits once. Like he's 1 for 7 every year. So like
right.
And then
Pig got him legit like Oscar buzz. He didn't get a nomination ultimately, but certainly, I mean,
I don't even think we mentioned the fact that we're kind of doing this, and not to say that we're not going to do. I don't think we are going to do an actual one-off for what is the name of the movie that's coming out? The something Weight of Massive Talent or the
Unbearable
Weight of Massive Talent. The one where he plays himself.
Yes, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah. So we thought it would be fun to do Nicolas Cage run sort of leading up to that movie. But then I don't even think we're going to do a one-off. A movie we will do a one-off with is The Batman. So we'll probably get around to that on Sunday. We'll see.
Maybe we will do Unbearable Weight. We'll see.
Look, never say never. That's what they say in WWE. And then they fire everybody. Okay. Never say never about your employment. Okay. Michael also writes in on Patreon with Nicolas Cage. I think to get a good sample of his filmography, you have to watch a few of the legit good ones. Well, yeah. Okay, Michael. Action stuff, but then sprinkle in the utterly insane. So my picks would be as follows: Matchstick Men, Lord of War, The Weatherman, Con Air, Face Off, Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans, Drive Angry. Wow, that was a video on demand one, I think. Mom and Dad.
I watched that about a year ago. That was like a lockdown movie for me.
Mom and Dad, Mandy and Pig. He's out on. I think he's actually named like 10 movies here. I don't think we're going to go that.
That was a good sample. That was a good because we're not going to say everything we're doing yet, but I will say that there's been some really fun ones mentioned here that we have thought about. But that list right there had a couple that we haven't even brought up because Nicolas Cage has a lot,
and he has a lot of like really sort of lackluster comedies, like Guarding Tess, and what was the one where he's with John Lovitz and Dana Carvey, Trapped in Paradise?
Yeah, I do remember liking Honeymoon in Vegas quite a bit. That was a good one.
So that's actually, I think that was that's before the movie we're doing next week.
Yeah,
I believe Honeymoon in Vegas came pretty soon after Moonstruck. It was in the early 90s. But so next week, everyone, we are doing Red Rock West. And if you listen to this podcast, or at least all the episodes all the way through, you will have probably heard me talk about the indie film movement pre-Tarantino, which it existed. There was a lot of crime movies and film noir movies being done. And there was like your John Sayles and your Carl Franklins and your John Dahls, who did Red Rock West, who would peak afterwards with The Last Seduction with Linda Fiorentino, your Gus Van Sant's. And so they existed. A lot of those directors now, like John Dahl and Carl Franklin and other people, do a shit ton of TV. So John Dahl is basically has directed 2 to 4 episodes of every TV show that's ever existed. So including Hannibal, including a lot of things.
I see he did 200 episodes of Iron Fist.
Yeah, he's done everything.
4 Yellowstones.
Dexter.
Most recent thing was Servant, the M. Night Shyamalan show, Apple TV show. So yeah.
That's a weird one too, because Shyamalan is so distinct with his style that you kind of have to step in there and do Shyamalan, because you do go in there and you fit your directing to the mold of the show and the sort of the stylistic Bible they've created.
I do like that Rupert Grint is going to be in Shyamalan's next movie with Dave Bautista. Rupert Grint is now a Shyamalan player. He's a
Shyamalan player. And God, what else did I just see him on the set of? Fuck, I forget. It's not important. It's Rupert Grint. All right. Hey.
Give Ron Weasley.
He's a Weasley.
Weasley is our king.
Hand-me-down robes, Weasley.
Man, okay. John Dahl directed the thing he's directed the most of, though, 11 episodes of Ray Donovan. He is.
Yeah, I haven't seen a single episode. Well, I saw the pilot of that.
Followed by 10 of Californication. So Showtime has him on speed dial.
Yeah, and Dexter, I saw all that.
Painless,
stuff. Yeah. All right, let's get into our good things to enjoy this week. Eric, what is your good thing to enjoy?
Good thing to enjoy this week is something that I know we've mentioned here and there. And I had a weird mental association that got me to finally just recommend it this week, which is we're about to talk about Moonstruck, which John Mahoney has a small but notable role in. And John Mahoney was seen in the original MTV version of what I'm about to mention.
John Mahoney was also my co-star with Ben Stiller.
No, that's what I'm about to say.
Oh, okay.
John Mahoney was in a sketch on the MTV version of the Ben Stiller show that Matt Fowler was in. We'll talk about that in a second. We'll table that thought, because my actual recommendation is the Ben Stiller show, the more notable one, which was on Fox. It's confusing because Ben Stiller had
the one that won the actual Emmy for writing a comedy series. Yeah.
Yes.
After it was canceled.
That beat SNL and a bunch of big shows, even though no one watched it and it had already been canceled when it won the Emmy. It was his second time trying this, first on MTV. I think that was only like 6 episodes, very short run. Then came back with another short run, but these days it would be 2 seasons of a streaming series with 12 episodes. Ben Stiller show, 1992, and it's just like a go-to, like I think, and I think you agree, it's like an all-timer in sketch comedy that was definitely, I think, kind of ahead of its time as far as the thing that made the biggest impression to me about the Ben Stiller show. And it made sense that Ben Stiller would go on to become like a very successful movie director, because we knew him from like his small short run on SNL and here and there and different stuff, but is that Ben Stiller show was the first time I'd seen sketch comedy that was so meticulously trying to emulate what it was parodying from a cinematic level. That if they did a parody of A Few Good Men, like they wanted it to really look like, as much as they could on their budget, look like A Few Good Men. There was no audience, so it was all like, they didn't have to worry about that. And they would just shoot it and get the voiceover person if they could, and just try to do everything that would make it feel real, like it was parodying. And that was very novel at the time. Since then it's become very standard.
It's so we mentioned it here, and I think I actually asked out loud when we were talking about it, why haven't we recommended this in a good thing to enjoy? And you're like, I don't know. Ben Stiller show, hugely impactful for young Eric Goldman and young Matt Fowler, and something that we quote to this day. My Dog Manson was named after a particular sketch in which Bob Odenkirk played Charles Manson. And also, it is the second time, I can't remember actually if he did it on the MTV Ben Stiller show, that he's just, Ben Stiller had this drive, this passion, this need to play Eddie Munster as a grown man, like an adult wearing the short pants Eddie Munster costume, because he played him on SNL as a guest on Sprockets.
I remember
with
this.
Mike Myers. Yeah. He's like, I got to do this again somehow. Yeah.
And we know every comedian has stuff they like to do. Like, another go-to for Stiller, of course, is Tom Cruise, which he would do to a much wider audience when he would play him on the MTV Movie Awards. Her stunt double a few years later. Matt just mentioned, again, for those who aren't familiar with this all, I mean, you're going to be familiar with who Ben Stiller is, but if you don't know this show at all, sketch comedy show, there was only 4 cast members, and they were Stiller, Janine Garofalo, Andy Dick, and Bob Odenkirk, who, arguably at this point in time is the most sort of famous. I mean, Stiller's still famous, but Bob Odenkirk right now is on a huge TV show that was a spinoff of another huge TV show. Odenkirk was also a writer on the show. I remember talking to Odenkirk about at the time how people thought Ben Stiller played parts like Charles Manson that Odenkirk had played himself. So you'll see a lot, and there's other people like David Cross pops up a couple times. It's all this sort of clique of people from that era who knew each other. It's great.
And they're going to be, if you do go and revisit it and you've never seen it, they're going to be parodying movies of the time that you may not have seen, and commercials of the time, like dandruff commercials, or TV shows like Cops, or actually Cops has been on for a long, long time. But yeah,
we referenced that's right. Our most recent time talking about it, Matt, was when we were talking about Natural Born Killers, and it tangented into Oliver Stone land for a second, I think, on the Ben Stiller show, because that was a very funny sketch. So it's 12 episodes, half hour each. So it's a short watch. And it's you can buy it for under $15. I saw on Amazon, Vudu, Google Play, and like Matt said, some of it will be a little tougher because if you don't get exactly what they're parodying, but you'll get the idea. Like there's a parody of Melrose Place, 90210, and The Heights, which were all Fox, teen AIM soaps at the time, but you'll get it even if you haven't seen those shows. And before we move to your good thing to enjoy, Matt, just so we don't forget later, to finish explaining that how you, Matt, when you were a very young kid, acted in Ben Stiller's short film. Tell that brief story.
Oh, now or when we get to John Mahoney?
Let's tell it now, just to get.
Oh, if for those who don't know, I don't know if I've mentioned it on the podcast or I've tweeted about it a couple times. Sometimes I was in a student film. So yeah, I was, as a kid, because my mom was an actress, I wanted to act. So I was an extra in some things. I got a few student films. One student film in particular was a Columbia grad students thesis film. And because of that, someone working on this Ben Stiller short film said, "Hey, do you know a kid who's well behaved?" And the director recommended me over the other kid in the film because the other kid was not well behaved. So I got to come in and have a scene with Ben Stiller for The Hustler of Money, which was sort of a proto Ben Stiller show type thing, because
Ben Stiller was nobody when he made this.
Yeah, it was parodying The Color of Money. And Ben
Stiller playing Tom Cruise.
Ben Stiller doing his Tom Cruise impersonation, and John Mahoney is playing the Paul Newman part. And then it had a whole bunch of Ben Stiller friends and family. It had his parents, Ann Mira, and Jerry Stiller. It had Danny Aiello in a brief scene.
Hey, Moonstruck Danny Aiello.
Yeah, Julie Haggerty from the Airplane movies was my mom. And I got to play a kid who gets hustled by Ben Stiller, but it's bowling instead of pool. So it was all shot at a bowling alley. And I remember my day on the set because I just wanted to talk to Ann Mira about Alf, because she was on Alf at the time.
you know Alf.
So I asked her a lot of Alf puppet questions about how it was working, down there. But I was wearing glasses at the time that I wore. These are my glasses from elementary school that I didn't wear anymore. So I brought them out. They barely fit on my face. They were so tight. because they were from like 3 years earlier. And this was when I was in 6th grade. But so the Hustler of Money aired on Saturday Night Live.
That's was the crazy thing. Is like you had no way of knowing that doing this little short film for someone who is not known at all would mean that Matt has been on Saturday Night Live and on MTV, because then he would show it again on the original version of the Ben Stiller show. So Matt, you're famous. He did not show it a third time on the Fox version that I'm recommending, but you can just go on YouTube and type in Hustler of Money and you will see.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. And I can't remember the year. I want to say 87 or something. SNL, Charles. It was a SNL episode hosted by Charlton Heston. I was very upset because they told me that they were going to let me know when it aired. And I didn't watch Saturday Night Live regularly at that point in 6th grade, to the point where I'm just going to watch for it because I didn't know when it was airing. And I didn't get to see it live because I woke up the next morning with my dad calling me saying that it was on the night before. And there was no way very upset
because how would you possibly see it?
Yeah, there was no way to see it. I couldn't. SNL wasn't posting clips on Instagram. There wasn't anything they could do. But yeah, when did he? I think he actually hosted a couple of times. The first was March. Yeah, so it was March 28th, 1987, and it was Charlton Heston with musical guest Wynton Marsalis. So an extra hip episode of Charlton Heston and smooth jazz.
But it was the beginning of Ben Stiller's superstardom and Matt Fowler's.
Exactly. We both took off on our skyrocketing trajectories that day.
What is your good thing to enjoy? Star of the Hustler of Money, Matt Fowler.
Okay, really quickly, I'm pulling an Eric Goldman this week and recommending a podcast. The podcast I'm recommending is called No Dogs in Space. Now, I listened to a podcast called Last Podcast on the Left. I feel, Eric, like maybe a few of our listeners also listen to Last Podcast on the Left because it's a very popular podcast. It's part of the Last Podcast Network. It's hosted by Ben Kissel, and it's researched and sort of scripted and narrated by Marcus Parks. And then Henry Zabrowski's there as sort of a comedian laying in the zingers. And Last Podcast on Left is a true crime podcast that talks mostly about serial killers, also sometimes paranormal, UFO shit, sometimes conspiracy theories, ghosts, cryptids, cults. They do a lot of cult stuff. Also, sometimes religions with questionable makeups, like they do a deep dive into Scientology and Mormonism and stuff like that. So I want to say that this isn't like, I say this because No Dogs in Space is a music podcast that's sort of like a music history podcast. So anyone out there who really is interested in like rock and roll history or band history, I think you would like No Dogs in Space. It is hosted by one of the hosts of Last Podcast on the Left, Marcus Parks, and his wife, Carolina Hidalgo, and they do deep dives. So when I say that, they do like the one I'm recommending, I guess, if you're going to listen to this at all, is their 6-part Beastie Boys, basically deep dive. And so it's not like one episode, one band. They do multiple chapters. So like they're Jim Jones, episodes where I think they did 5 parts on Jim Jones. It's not just one episode, one killer. It's they go all out. And these episodes range from like 90 minutes to 2.5 hours. So they could be very long. So, but it's really interesting if they get you with a band that you're into. So No Dogs in Space very specifically talks about punk rock music and the origins of punk. So they start with the Stooges. They do a 5-part Stooges sort of, journey and history. They go into Suicide, The Damned, The Ramones, Misfits, The Cramps, Dead Kennedys, so forth. And then eventually they get around to Beastie Boys, who aren't necessarily punk, but they started as a hardcore punk band. Yeah. And so, Eric, as a Beastie Boys fan, I recommend it to you just because it's very interesting. And also, the second episode of the Beastie Boys run that they do has no Beastie Boys in it. The first episode is about the Beastie Boys beginning, how they started in their various hardcore punk bands. And then the second episode is actually all about the hip hop origin, like the way hip hop came into New York and how it grew from the Bronx down into downtown Manhattan, and then the influence it had on the Beastie Boys. And then, because as you know, Eric is a fan of the Beastie Boys, eventually with like Check Your Head and their later albums, when they started actually going back and playing their instruments, they blended their punk style with their hip hop style. So anyway, my recommendation is No Dogs in Space, because Marcus Parks is a very thorough and entertaining egghead when it comes to doing research and scripting it out in a way. Like, he writes himself up a script to lead you through, and these are really long scripts, obviously, that he also is able to read and also riff on with his wife, who's also super knowledgeable about all this stuff, and they make a really good pair, and obviously they have really good chemistry. So I listened to the Beastie Boys episodes first, then I went back and listened to the Stooges. Now I'm on Suicide, and then I'll get into The Damned. So if you're a music nerd out there, and I don't feel like music culture, and I don't want this to turn into a big old man yells at clouds episode where I'm like, movie theater prices are too expensive. When you and I were growing up, Eric, we had MTV, we had magazines like Rolling Stone and Spin, and music was sort of, and obviously way back in the 70s, like music journalism was like a huge thing too. So I think that's sort of fallen by the wayside as more fractured and fragmented all forms of entertainment have become. But if anyone out there is still into that, I recommend it.
That sounds cool.
You can find it on all the podcast places, iTunes, Spotify, etc.
One I put in I forgot to say, because I put in the notes for myself. I wanted to thank Carver on Twitter, who pointed out to me that last week when I said Vacation 2015 was on HBO Max, but then it left. It's now back there. So it is now on. It is on a streamer. You don't have to rent or buy it. It's on HBO Max. So thank you, Carver, for the heads up.
All right. Thank you, Carver. And also, if you're into serial killers and true crime shit, obviously, I also recommend Last Podcast on the Left. I went and saw them live here, I think, a month ago. They tour sometimes and do a fun live show, and it was very entertaining. And they just get more popular because as the years go on, they keep being in bigger venues. Like, so it's pretty impressive.
They're going to play the Garden, man.
They could play the Garden. All right, let's talk Moonstruck.
Did we say we said Red Rock West is the movie next week, right?
Yes, we didn't tell people how to watch it though, including ourselves.
Yes, it's on Tubi, which is free. The upside is it's free. The downside is that there are ads, so you'll have to watch commercials like a loser. But we're all in the same boat because this is one of those movies that's hard sometimes nowhere to find. But right now it's on Tubi. With ads.
This one you can't rent anywhere, so it is nowhere to find. Yeah,
right. And so if you don't have Tubi, you can download it on most of like Roku and Apple TV, I believe, and it's also just like on your desktop. You could watch it there too.
All right. You could watch it on your phone. You could watch it on the tiny screen at the Shell station.
And this is another one that I haven't seen. I think I saw Red Rock West once, maybe twice, but it's been a minute, which is to say it's been about 30 years.
It's been a joke over the years as more and more streaming services and at one point cable channels would pop up with sort of scripted television that gas station screens would have their own original content. But they do, Eric. Do you know that they create original content?
No.
Like Quick Trip, which is a gas chain out here. Filling up gas the other night, I saw revisit your favorite 90s sitcom with Quick Trip's new original series, Eric. And it was something, and it's like you can view it here. The premiere is Thursday something 7 p.m. and it lists like Instagram, YouTube, stuff like that, obviously. But they have original fucking programming. It's not a joke anymore.
What a world.
What a world indeed. You know what this world needs? Cosmo's Moon. Cosmo's goofy romantic moon.
What a charming movie about cheating on your loved one.
It is. What a charming movie where every man is an absolute aggravating baby. Every man in this movie is a worthless just child. And that was a huge crux of rom-coms back in the day. First thing, we already talked about Cher's movie run in the 80s. Nicolas Cage, this would make him a huge star. He's still fresh to the scene. let's talk about the absolute chaos that of the ages of people in this movie.
Actors. Oh, it's in my notes. It is in my notes.
This is an absolute nesting doll of insanity.
It is insanity. I mean, I think the first thing is it is crazy. Even watching it now, much less as a kid, even watching it now, it's hard to process that Nicolas Cage is 23 in this movie.
Yes. Okay. So first one out of the gate.
He reads older, and I think he's playing older.
Yeah. Cher is playing 38. She's 40, 41 when she's making this movie. That's fine.
37, but same difference. Yeah.
She looks amazing. I actually wish she didn't dye the gray out of her hair because that gray.
I forgot that she began with the gray, by the way.
Oh, the gray looks so fucking good. Oh, she's so great in this movie. She and Nicolas Cage are just walking around like snacks the whole time, and it's amazing. He is playing older, but also I feel like he's still younger than her, maybe.
I think so. I think if I were to guess, they tell you she's 37. I'd guess his character is supposed to be late 20s, maybe 30.
Yeah, maybe early 30s, late 20s. But yeah, so he's 22, 23 when he's making this movie, which means he was also the same age, if not younger, when he was making Raising Arizona.
Neither of them does he read
he's just super. Yeah. He's just a dude who just grew old. And then we've got Danny Aiello, who's 54, playing a 42-year-old. You better believe I looked that up when they said, he's 42. Because
I know. And they throw that in right at the very end because, again, you've got two actors here with Cage and Aiello who are 30 years apart playing brothers. So it's just a funny thing that it's just like, we're just supposed to, and it's not a plot point. It's not like, oh, you're such a, you were born so far apart. It's just, we're just okay, they're brothers. Let's go with it.
Yeah, and so this is like one of those weird things where, and
then we have the smaller stuff like Olympia Dukakis is only like 15 years older than Cher, and you're just kind of
she's playing a little older. Yes, she's playing older. Yeah, and then if somebody says somebody who's obviously older than Eric and myself playing someone younger than Eric and myself at this moment, right. I'm gonna look it up because for all I knew. Here's the thing, Eric. For all I knew, obviously, my first gut reaction is this guy is not 42 years old. But the weird thing is, age is so fluid, right?
Yes.
Ronnie Cox was younger than me when he was in Beverly Hills Cop, but he doesn't feel like that, right? Like,
oh yeah, I mean, everyone jokes now about Wilford Brimley, and just like, there are people, and in acting, it can serve you well in a way because then you can play these roles for decades. Where if you just read older, it's like, okay, then you get to play the elder statesman for decades and decades and decades. I mean, Max von Sydow, I remember being shocked when he died, like he is still alive.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was a very, very old man for 40 years, And part of that I understand is that in Exorcist, they gave him like makeup to look older, but he always felt like an older guy. So yeah, there's some actors, that's how it is.
Yeah, Ronnie Cox was like 45, which is younger than me when he was in Beverly Hills Cop, and he just looked old because he, like Steve Martin, just had that thing where you went totally gray in your 30s or whatever. So yeah, I just needed to check. It turned out Danny Aiello.
No, trust me, dude. It's the top of my notes. Is the year everyone was born and how old they were when they made this movie. And then like how surprised I was that Nicolas Cage was so young in both the movies we've talked about the last 2 weeks. Because it does not seem that.
All right, Moonstruck. I love Moonstruck. I think we brought up last week. It was my second movie or something, or very early on. It was my good thing to enjoy.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one who likes Moonstruck because it was a huge hit, but I think it gets left out of rom-com conversations. I'm not exactly sure why. Yeah, rom-conversations. It was a big Oscar winner at the time because we said Cher won, Olympia Dukakis won.
Screenplay.
Did screenplay win? Yeah. And it's a very silly ass movie. Most rom-coms are, but this is like I do wonder because we talked about using Amore as the song at the beginning and ending. It's the opening credits and ending credits.
It's Ghostbusters.
It's the Ghostbusters of this movie, where it's like, obviously that was a huge hit song before this movie, but like when people sat down and heard it in this movie, we're like, oh shit, they're using Amore. Like it was like, did it like
This
blow them
was
away?
like a little bit of a thing though, because I also about a year after this was Married to the Mob, which was a Mambo Italiano, and like made that a thing again.
I just remember the commercials where they used "Liar, liar, pants on fire." Remember that song?
Remember that.
You keep on telling me those lies.
That I do not recall.
Was that Blondie? I have to look it
Maybe, I don't know.
up. No, the Castaways.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it was a cover. Shit. Now I'm in a weird like. It was Debbie Harry's version. That's why. Okay. It was her cover of a '60s song.
You lost me a long time ago.
I was saying I'm thinking of the Married to the Mob song. Anyway, this is a silly movie that it embraces a few Italian stereotypes, but I think in an endearing way. It never really fully goes over the top with it. There's a couple famous moments. The slap, obviously, like snap out of it was like a huge thing. But yeah, I love everyone in this movie. I love it. And obviously this is another thing where, like Raising Arizona, so much happens, but this takes place over 2 days. And you can criticize a lot of romantic comedies for like, they love each other, but they barely know each other. They don't know shit. Like, does she know like his middle name? Like, does she know anything about this guy after we only ever saw her? There was no montage. We didn't even get a montage of them walking around and spending time. All the time they spend together is the time we see them together. But then at the end, you have to ask, well, is she any better off than what she was with Johnny, with Danny Aiello's character? Because they felt like they barely knew each other either. And they were awkward, and it was weird even thinking of like them like being together because they didn't feel like they were a couple. Where it's like even her going up to kiss him felt like it was like a strange like, oh yeah, I forgot I have to do this because we are a couple, you know. But yeah, it's a movie about Loretta, played by Cher, and kind of her parents, and then like a few orbiting people in their love experience as well. Like we've got some in-laws, like Rose's brother and his wife. We've got John Mahoney's NYU professor. Yeah. And it makes sense that it was written by written and directed by somebody who came from theater, because it, like, again, we're talking like Thoroughbreds. This feels like it's a play.
Was Norman Jewison the director? Is he also from the theater?
Yes.
Okay.
Is he?
I knew John Patrick Shanley, the writer, is from theater. Yeah.
Well, he's from theater. I think Norman Jewison's actually just mostly a TV and film director. So it's just the writer. So whether or not this was envisioned as a play at first, I don't know.
But it certainly feels like it could be a play.
But yeah, John Patrick Shanley, who wrote it, once wrote some award-winning plays. He wrote Doubt. He wrote Doubt, which was turned into a movie, right?
And he wrote The January Man, another Danny Aiello movie. That his screenwriting career is all over the map. It's kind of crazy because it's got like Joe versus the Volcano, which is like kind of become a beloved cult movie, and then there's some straightforward, just like mainstream stuff like Alive and Congo, and then he adapts Doubt, but then he's got January Man, which is a bad movie with a lot of people that at a time that like were all firing, they were all like hot commodities, but it just didn't work. And then his most recent movie that he wrote and directed is a so bad it's good movie that I haven't seen, but everyone was joking about, which was Wild Mountain Time, that came out just a couple years ago with Emily Blunt and Jamie Dornan. So he's he has a
that's okay. I know what that movie is. I always forget the name of that movie.
Yeah.
I remember the twist of that movie, even though I haven't seen it.
I don't know the twist.
Do you want to know it?
No, I want to see it.
Oh shit! I want to tell you so bad.
I hope it's the same twist as Serenity, the Matthew McConaughey.
It's almost that level.
Okay. Oh, good. Oh, I'm watching it this weekend. Sold.
All right. Okay, so yeah, Loretta does people's taxes and like works the books for these shops. New York, Eric. It's like another character in the movie.
It is. I will say this is a time for me personally. This movie opened December 87 and limited release before going wide in January. But limited release meant it did open in New York where I was. And I had just moved to New York with my mom. And I think maybe that's why I was so into movies like this and Crossing to Lansing that you would not think I would be into, but maybe it's because
Pickle Man.
It was like research for the city I lived in.
Yeah,
like, this is what it's like.
And you really spent a lot of time in the Lower East Side with Crossing to Lansing. In the 80s, the Lower East Side, the bastion of safety. All right, so it actually also starts with showing us the Met, the opera house where they're playing La Boheme, which would become important later in the movie. And we sort of follow the opera house truck around the city until we meet Loretta, Cher looking amazing and having that accent that I love. Like it gets even thicker when you talk about like Marissa Tomei and stuff like that. That outer borough Long Island accent. Amazing. So, and Marissa Tomei in My Cousin Vinny had a streak of white in her hair too. I'm just saying that instead of like thinking of Rogue, I think we should envision Rogue as like someone from like Bensonhurst.
Rogue is a classic Loretta, is what you're saying.
Yes. So then we get to I don't remember the name of the restaurant. It appears a couple times in the movie, but dinner with Johnny, where he's going to propose to her, and it seems weird because like,
oh, and did you recognize a very, very important cameo, the waiter at one of the waiters at the beginning? Because I instantly clocked. He's not as prominent as like the waiter. There's the waiter who's like supposed to help him propose or whatever, but there is a waiter near the beginning of this movie, and it's Boiling Acid, Duncan Chino, whatever his name is in
oh my god,
Natural Born Killers. Joe Grafassi, hero, character actor, returning to our podcast. One day we'll do Batman Forever, and we'll do our third.
My God, I think maybe I can picture him in my head in this movie, and I just didn't place him. Obviously Tommy Lee Jones sanctioned his buffoonery. But yeah.
yes, that's right, because they worked together twice. But here he was, a young guy. He did not scream "It's Boiling Acid," but I thought
it was going to be someone super famous, but this is better. This is way better. Boiling Acid guy is way better than like that was Brad Pitt. I'm like, oh wow,
Duncan Homoka. That's right. I thought it was Duncan Mocha in Natural Born Killers.
So we get a little brief update on Loretta, which is that she is a young widow, and she seems very callous and uncaring about it. But it has been 7 years. We find out that her husband was hit by a bus, killed instantly. They were only married for a few years, never had any kids. And so she's been sort of toiling away with this mama's boy, Johnny, the very young and spriteful Danny Aiello.
The hip young Danny Aiello, yes.
And he proposes to her right as he's about to leave to visit his mother in Sicily, who's apparently on her deathbed, and asks her to do one thing. Could you go, call this number, ask for Ronnie. It's my estranged brother. Get him to come to the wedding. And it's already awkward between them. And then she keeps she brought up even before we get here, when other people talk to her about her relationship, is that she's got bad luck. Like she believes that like, if things aren't done right, I'm going to have bad luck again with my wedding. And maybe I had bad luck before because I didn't have a proper wedding and we got married at City Hall and all this stuff. So she thinks she's some like curse. And Johnny seems like a real, I don't know, wet fish. Like he really they don't feel like they really like each other that much, but she's doing it because this is what you do. Right.
And it's like he's going home to see his dying mother, who no one seems to like. And she certainly doesn't seem to be sympathetic about.
Well, that's the thing. It's like if you're going to have a movie where the whole premise is infidelity, right? Where it's like, she's engaged, they're not married, but still she's with somebody she sleeps with, his younger brother. You don't want to feel too sorry for the Baxter, which is the name, like the Bill Pullman character in Sleepless in Seattle, who I do feel sorry for actually, because he got dumped and shown up because he had allergies. But this guy, you don't, from the get-go, it's like you don't want her to be with him. And they shouldn't be together. They don't feel right together. And so if like once she starts having an affair, you're like, I buy into this. I want this for her. I want her to have heat and passion with this other man child who is just an emotional powder keg. And
who is Nicolas Cage, who takes a little while, who is given, first of all, he's given a great intro. His first scene is the scene when he's on the phone and we don't even see his face.
Yeah,
you know,
it's very like Phantom of the Bakery.
Yeah, where he's like, "What's wrong could never be made right," and it's like, yeah, you don't see.
Okay, face. I can't wait to talk about that. So let's rush through here. She lives at home. She's got her mom, Rose, her pop, Cosmo, played by Vincent Gardenia, who just a year earlier would be in Little Shop of Horrors, but has a film career that goes back decades previous to this.
And Olympia Dukakis had been working for decades, but this gave her like a big, winning this role and the Oscar, like kind of made her a star in a way she hadn't been, and gave her more high profile stuff because, she kind of like really popped with this movie.
Yeah. And after this, she got to be in Working Girl and Look Who's Talking and Steel Magnolias and a bunch of other big hits at the time. And then there's a grandpa in the house. He's got like 5 dogs.
Yeah.
He goes out to like the graveyard over one of their dead wives and talks to the other grandpas and they're like their grandpa meetup. And we also already saw John Mahoney's character at the restaurant at the beginning getting a drink thrown on him by a much younger woman.
Yeah.
And I think Loretta at the time comments too, like she's too young for him,
yes. Yeah. She does,
because that'll come back with Rose later on.
Which is our signifier, one of a couple signifiers that Nicolas Cage can't be playing his own age, because it's never brought up that he's like, would really in real life about almost 20 years younger than her. So we think in the movie just a few years younger than her, their characters.
And so we get an idea of like her father, who's, Vincent Gardenia has a very specific way. He plays Cosmo, which is how I knew this movie, Eric, is how I knew Cosmo was a name first. Like somebody could be named Cosmo. The second time I learned that Cosmo could be a name was because at our middle school, one of our security guards was named Cosmo. And then when Kramer was named Cosmo, I was like, I know that's a name because of those other two.
It's established.
Okay, so he's got a lot of dogs. She talks about having bad luck and how she wants a real marriage. The dad doesn't like Johnny. The mom doesn't like Johnny. We don't like Johnny. So that's the whole thing. Is like we don't like him.
Johnny's a drip.
Yes, he's a grade A drip. He's a herb.
And it seems like everyone knows his mom enough to not like her. I think is it Dukakis who has a very funny line early on about she's dying, but I can still hear her big mouth, or Cher. It's one of them has a funny line early on. So it's like, okay, like they know the mom enough to be like, I don't care that she's dying. She sucks.
And we're already getting moon talk here. We're already getting like the lunar talk here with La Bella Luna. It's the moon. It brings the woman to the man. And like the moon is like some like celestial guide leading people to each other in true passionate love. People who barely know each other. People who think they love each other, but really only know each other in a Romeo and Juliet sense of like really shallow, I've known you for a few hours and I want to spend the rest of my life with you type of relationships. That's what the moon does. That's the silly romantic part of this movie that ties into the title of the movie and also the song. The part of the movie that I really like is Nicolas Cage's speech at the end of Ronnie's speech, where he's talking about like love is terrible. Like love ruins your life. And like that's what it is. And like that's because this movie is about infidelity and about one engagement ending, where they sort of have a deus ex machina at the end, where it's like Johnny can't marry her first, so she never really has to break horrible news to him.
Right.
But yeah, so it's like love messes everything up. Love makes you feel terrible. Love does all these things. I love I love this movie's take on love. I think I mentioned that when I recommended it. And then we get the big Cher meeting Nicolas Cage for the first time. And the explanation, oh my God, the explanation, Eric, of why Ronnie hates Johnny. And it's almost a parody. It's so stupid that it almost feels like it's a parody.
No, and a couple things here that are interesting. It's Nicolas Cage going Nicolas Cage in a way he doesn't in Raising Arizona. Raising Arizona, he's underplaying. That character is not a like I'm going big Nicolas Cage character. A few months later, this comes out, and he is instantly introduced being very Nicolas Cage. Of course, I lost my hand, I lost my bride, Johnny has his hand, Johnny has his bride. But also, I will say
that line is amazing. Yeah,
it's amazing. And he's going for it. It has only Nicolas Cage can. But the movie itself does shift here with around him. The part that really stood out to me, it's very funny, but suddenly the movie is operating at a much more like satirical level with the whole bring me the big knife. No, Ronnie, like that whole exchange. That girl's really funny too. I wish I knew who that girl was who loves him from afar, but it's like they're operating at a different level. Like, this is like you said, it's pushing it into parody level.
Well, this also is like the way he does it with her. It's like, it's a recurring bit.
Right.
It's like he asks her for the knife. She says no. She cries like,
right.
Because he seems like the person that at this point, anything like he steps on gum, like he tears a hole in his shirt, like any inconvenience in his life, he's just like, give me the knife. Like he's just,
I'm gonna kill myself.
Yeah, he just anything can set him off. Any minor inconvenience in his life will just set him off into some like overly dramatic tirade about it. And the fact that it is not his brother's fault. So he blames his brother for distracting him by talking to him, by making him
for being in the room basically when it happened. Yeah.
And then afterwards having a better life. And then like, it's so silly. So, man, what was the Will Ferrell, Kristen Wiig Lifetime movie that you moderated?
Oh,
Deadly Adoption.
Deadly Adoption. Yeah.
There was another attempt to do that recently on Netflix with Kristen Bell. Mm-hmm. It didn't work as well because it was a series and it dragged on too long, and that sort of thing can only kind of hold for a movie, barely like 90 minutes. And I'm going to spoil part of that show for people. It was called The Woman in the Window Across from the Woman in the Window. I can't remember.
A purposely long convoluted title. Yeah.
It was a woman in the street. The woman in the house across the same street as the woman in the window. That's what it's called. Something like that. And it's Kristen Bell and Michael Ealy. And it was done as a parody of a lot of these Hallmark movie, Lifetime movie, true crime, like Women in Peril, the deadly boyfriend, mystery man across the street, who's the murderer, et cetera, et cetera. And with a lot of these movies, the heroine comes with a tragic backstory. In this case, she's divorced from her husband and they had lost their little girl. And when you find out how they lost their little girl, it is hysterical. It's also almost totally incongruent with the rest of the thing, which plays it straight. And then there's this moment of insanity. I feel like that's this element of Moonstruck, where it's like when you find out that he lost his fingers in like the meat the bread slicing machine.
Right.
Because his brother distracted him or something.
Right.
Arguably. It seems so dumb. And then his woman left him and all this stuff. The way they lose the girl in the movie is it was take your daughter to work day, but her father happened to be like a psychiatrist who was going to meet with a court-appointed patient, a serial killer in a prison that day. And he took his daughter in and accidentally leaves her in the room alone with like a cannibalistic serial killer who eats his daughter.
All right.
I'm telling you the best part of the show.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Very good. Very good. So anyway, this feels that absurd, but also it works because every guy in this movie is a fucking infant. So
Yeah.
so it still works, and it gives us, Nicolas Cage in one of his first opportunities to dial it up to 11,
Right.
which he will continue to do from henceforth,
Right.
going forward. And then, but then almost immediately too, it's like she's drawn to him, he's drawn to her. She puts forth, like, they go and talk in his apartment. She puts forth that like you're blaming him, but you probably did it to yourself because you didn't want to be in a relationship. She's calling him out on bullshit. He's calling her out on bullshit. And then they wind up in bed, and she's like, has some amazing lines, like, don't leave anything left of me. And like, it all works really well.
Also, I laughed a lot at when he picks her up to carry her to the bedroom, and she says, "What are you doing?" And he just yells, "Son of a bitch!" Like, it's just, there's some great Nicolas Cage yelling stuff moments in this movie.
Yeah, it's some good stuff. He's not like it the whole time, because it's like he's not doing that at the opera, and he's not like
another one I typed out just because I'm assuming he probably improv'd repeating the word is when he goes, "I bake bread, bread, bread." I'm like, I bet the line was just "I bake bread," but he decided to keep going with the bread. It all works, by the way.
I wonder what the casting process here was. Like, Cher must have really like approved of him, right? Like, because no one's getting past the leading lady in this.
And don't forget, we should mention something, because again, he's not unless maybe I don't know what the exact order of things are, but obviously he made this movie before Raising Arizona would have come out, so it can't be from that. His one studio movie prior to all this, not counting like Valley Girl and stuff, but a big movie he did prior to this was Peggy Sue Got Married, which notably is his famous uncle's movie. And he does, if you've never seen Peggy Sue Got Married, anyone, Nicolas Cage does a crazy voice in that movie. He speaks in this strange, like, helium voice that was a big swing that did not land for a lot of people. So in a way, he probably is a little bit on thin ice as far as like, what is this guy even doing? Like, what is the deal with this guy? So you're probably right, Matt, that it's like, that Cher must have been like, liked the energy he was bringing in auditions and decided to go for it with him here. I'm glad she did.
So the morning after, so they sleep together. Here's the thing. I totally buy them sleeping together. They're falling in love with each other the next day. I give it a pass. It's a romantic comedy. I understand them like sleeping together and it's a one-time thing. And she's like, "Oh, we shouldn't do this." The famous snap out of it scene. He says, "I'm in love with you." I believe him because he is so impetuous and stubborn and like, maybe the first woman he's been with since his bride left him. And he's just that kind of guy.
Yeah.
She seems a little more pragmatic, but yeah. So
right, it's a little harder with her. Look, a movie that I love, one of my favorite movies last year that just arrived on 2 major streaming services today. West Side Story is predicated on the 2 main characters falling in love within a day. It's bigger than life. It's a musical, and also at least one of them is an actual teenager. Because based on Romeo and Juliet. But
that's Romeo and Juliet. That's what I'm talking about. The type of love that this movie is selling is like the love at first sight, right? Like where it's like, I've seen you, I don't need to know anything else. Everything else about you is unimportant, and it will be discovered later to great pain, probably.
There'll be no issues.
So then we also learn at this point, it's sort of hinted at the beginning that Rose and Cosmo are having sort of like a strain in their long marriage as old people. But now we find out that, first we find out why the dad has so much money is because he's a plumber in New York. And then he's actually is cheating on his wife with Mona, who we get an extended scene of him talking to her where she just dotes on him and calls him the smartest guy in the world. And a recurring theme here put forth by Rose several times is like, why do men chase women? Which is, I guess, a way of saying, why do men cheat? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because they fear death. And eventually Johnny gives her that answer at the end. That's her running theory. And it makes sense as far as like, you know, the idea of, you know, you're getting old, mortality is getting closer. So you do these things to make yourself feel like you did when you didn't worry about that type of, you know, thing when you were younger. Either whether you're going after women who are too young for you, like John Mahoney's professor, or Cosmo, who's actually just being unfaithful to his wife because he's with someone that like dotes on him and thinks he's so great and lavishes him with praise, and all he has to do is get her fur coats and ugly bracelets and stuff like that. She doesn't expect anything from him. She only will listen and doesn't have to talk about herself. Like, just very one-sided.
The classic scenario of when a daughter and a father are both having affairs and go to the same opera.
Well, that's, you know, so that's the silly element of this movie is that, and then it ends up with everybody in the movie. Every cast member of the movie outside of John Mahoney is like in the kitchen at the end.
I wish John Mahoney had popped in.
He's like, hey, I'm still cold out here. You know, like, can you let me in? And this is John Mahoney who, you know, pre-Frasier, and was this pre-Say Anything?
Yes.
That's what I knew him from.
I was just looking him up, and he was working. In fact, he'd done Suspect with Cher, but this movie would be a breakout for him too, I think. Like, you know, him having these kind of two great scenes, well, especially the second scene, would definitely lead to like him becoming a much more recognizable face and doing 8 Men Out and Say Anything. And then obviously he did a couple things with the Coens, and then Frasier.
He did, because he's gonna be in Barton Fink pretty soon after.
And Hunt for Proxy, yeah.
He's was a long time part of the Steppenwolf Theater Ensemble, and he that's how he knew Ben Stiller and Mira and Jerry Stiller, and that's why he was in Hustler of Money. It's because of the theater. Let's see, where are we in?
This is where, while you're doing that delay, I can say my mom was friends with Danny Aiello.
That's right, I do remember that.
And I had a very nice encounter once with Danny Aiello because I can't remember where I think I saw him at the movies. I think I saw him at the Avco in Westwood. And I decided to go up to him because she'd mentioned him so much. Like, it seemed like it was more than just like, oh, I met him. Like, she knew him. Danny, blah, blah, blah. So I went up, I said, Mr. Aiello, I just want to say hello. My mom is Carol Goldman. And he lit up and he grabbed his friend and went, this kid's mom is Carol Goldman. And he was very excited. So...
Are you sure he wasn't ragging on you, or was he like genuine?
He was being genuine.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
He said, "Oh,
the Carol Goldman." Yeah.
Right.
So Mahoney knew Ben Stiller because together they were in the film version based on the play House of Blue Leaves. That's what it's from. All right. So now we get basically she doesn't want to see Ronnie anymore. He's in love with her, but he's like, look, I'll let you do this. Just come to the opera with me. I don't know, Eric. Now, maybe I'm completely way off base, and maybe I'm way misremembering life before internet. And also maybe because I grew up in Manhattan. Right. But when she's like, "Where's the Met?"
Right.
I'm like, "Come on." Like, I know you live in Brooklyn. I assume that's where you are. Because I don't think they ever explicitly are like Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, you know, like saying any of that stuff. But if she's in Manhattan, God help her, she doesn't know where the Met is. Just go up there, go north. You'll
never
find it.
Went uptown.
Maybe she's on Delancey with the Pickle Man from Crossing Delancey. Who was the guy in that? Peter Reigart, right?
Yeah. Crossover. They could have done an extended universe if they'd wanted to.
And we get a lot of there's a big family dinner where we meet Rose's brother and his wife, and they actually own a corner store, so we see them a few other times in the movie as well.
And then when the going to the Met is the same night that Dukakis's character has her dinner with Mahoney.
Well, she goes out because he's out, and
Right.
he won't say where he is, and he won't say where he went when he comes back. He's like, can't remember his response, but he's like, where am I now? Where am I going? I don't know. Like, he's like, won't tell her. And Rose's brother talks about the moon he saw when Cosmo was staring outside of their house looking for Rose. And then later that night, it's like, it's Cosmo's moon, and it gets them all horny. And then they have like old people sex.
Yes.
And then, so then the next day she's like, fresh from the afterglow of infidelity, Loretta wants a makeover. She sadly gets the sexy gray front of her hair dyed black. And she goes to the Met the same time Cosmo is taking Mona also out on a date. He also looks around a lot, by the way. He's cheating, so he's looking over his shoulders, even though apparently no one in his family knows how to get to the Met. So it seems
I was going to say, if Loretta doesn't know, then you'd think his wife doesn't know too, probably. So
and
figured it out.
Here's where the the relationship between Ronnie and Loretta gets even more of a pass, because they have a nice time. She cries at the opera. He's sort of the erudite primitive, right? Like the guy who's like all bluster and rage, and then his favorite thing in the world is opera,
right,
which I guess makes sense, because opera, what is more animated and dramatic than opera?
Right. He's very dramatic, so it makes sense. Although, again, the fact that there's no way his character is supposed to be his age, but besides the fact that we know 5 years ago he lost his hand, he lost his girl. So I don't think that happened when he was 18. But also he's like, it's been a while since I've been to the opera. And I was like, yeah, I don't think that was his like teenage like hangout. Like
it was my teenage hangout, because my graduation was right next door at Alice Tilly Hall.
Mine was at the Television Academy, where they announced the Emmy nominations sometimes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right. So they watch La Boheme, and she cries. He explains. He doesn't really explain it to her. He just lets her experience it.
Well, she explains it to him, and like, she got into it.
The night kind of gets ruined. She's mortified and distracted because she sees her dad, and they agree not to talk about it. But he sees she's cheating too, so it's sort of like they're both upset. But it wasn't enough. He still manages to lay his spiel on her thick enough that she still goes and sleeps with him a second time and spends the night. He gets his great speech that I love about like love ruins your life. And then at the same time comes also one of my favorite parts of the movie, which is Rose and John Mahoney's Perry is the name of his character, which was a great scene. An
excellent scene that simultaneously, I think, makes John Mahoney a bigger star that will start getting a bigger career, and I think solidifies Olympia Dukakis winning the Oscar, because she's good and funny throughout the movie, but this whole sequence is like kind of her big spotlight, and everything about how she plays this, and her liking her time with this guy, but also being she's never gonna like fall for his like let's get together thing, is all great. It is funny. Again, we talk about changing social mores and times and stuff. It is funny that there's at no point is anyone bring up, hey, it's not right for you to sleep with your students. It's just the age difference. It's like not like
I mean, look,
I constantly sleep with my students. They just are like, hey, that's kind of pathetic because you're an older guy.
I feel like 45% of Woody Allen films are about teaching with students. This was by the way, this was huge in 80s in New York. I'm sorry you didn't get slept with, Eric. Teachers were just sleeping with students left and right.
Apparently. But yeah, and his whole thing about how they at first they're charmed because they see me as so smart, and then they realize I'm just a burnt out old gas bag.
It is funny that we see it happen twice. There's almost a cartoonish element of imagining that it happens every single time that a woman throws a drink on him.
Yes,
because he has his post drink spill like speech prepared afterwards. It's like he tells the waiter, erase all evidence of her, bring me a large glass of vodka. Like it's like a routine. It's almost like the performance art from Perry in this one restaurant.
If she's still in the class, Matt.
No, he mentions that. he's like, she was my student. He's like, well, is, I guess, like he says that.
Like, that's awkward.
It is awkward, but this isn't
give her a
addressed.
fair grade. Yeah.
He gives her an F-. Everything's fine.
Oh, okay, great. Okay.
Maybe when he senses the end is near, then and only then he takes him to this restaurant. He's like, if they're gonna throw a drink on me, it's gonna be in this fucking restaurant.
I just want one place where that's
I can't spread that embarrassment out if I'm just always the guy in this restaurant who gets a drink thrown on him.
Right.
But
hopefully it's always water, otherwise he's ruining some stuff.
He is so good in the scene because he is simultaneously. He is vulnerable and sleazy.
Yeah.
So he opens up about himself.
He clearly likes that she calls him on his bullshit. Like it feels like it's very freeing for him. His performance is so great, showing a guy who's like, oh, this woman has my number, and instead of retreating from that, I'm going to just be like, yep, and just talk about it completely.
It's not like he makes a move on her at first. She invites him to eat with her, like she's playing a little dangerous game herself for her, where like how she was raised and the age she's at and her own sort of family culture, like doing this. Obviously she gets spotted by the grandfather later on. While they're walking home, but it's a great moment, and he's also sitting there this whole time while he's being honest with her and she's being honest with him. He's still thinking his background programming is like, I got a shot with her, like this is going to lead to something. Perry's not sleeping alone tonight. Because even like he's even like, hey, no one's home, invite me up. It doesn't mean someone's not going to walk through the door, by the way. So it's like,
yeah.
And he tries a couple times. He's like, I'm cold, great, just a great scene. And then best of luck to Perry on his future endeavors, wherever he winds up.
Because he does not pop up in the end, sadly.
And then so basically Johnny comes back early because his mom made a miraculous recovery. And that's when we find out that he's calling off the wedding because of whatever superstition he has over his mom's health. Which
I realized that this movie was going to have a quick resolution because I saw that there wasn't that much time left. And I was like, they haven't resolved anything.
When's the last time you saw this movie? Because I've seen it very recently. I watch it every few years.
Decades. But I saw it. It's funny, Matt, because I saw it several times, but now it had been forever, early 90s, probably.
Yeah.
So I'd forgotten a lot of the details while I could also still quote a lot of it. It was like some of it was a jumble. Some of it's like, oh, yeah, I remember that.
Your life's going down the toilet. Great moment at the end with like the grandfather's crying. And she's like, what's wrong? He's like, I'm confused. Like, yes. Very funny stuff. And just sweet. And nobody wants a huge, awful confrontation in this movie. So even when Rose says, confronts Cosmo about cheating on her, and she's just like, stop it. And he's like, okay, it's over. And then, they have a happy ending. And there's not too much of a fuss made out of anything because Johnny already gives up his chance with Loretta. And that opens the door for her being like, hey, give me a ring. I'm going to marry this bozo over here. And
we don't, he's confused. We save for off camera the actual explanation where Johnny has to learn exactly what the hell is going on.
The moon, Eric. It makes people so crazy. Right. It makes people so confused and crazy about love. Oh, la bella luna.
I will gripe that the closing credits, I like the photo of everyone, but then I realized this was just a cast photo because she still has the gray hair, but both Aiello and Cage are in the photo. So it's not like this is like a photo that can have been taken after the events we just saw.
Because they were estranged brothers. Yeah.
Right. When did this photo take?
And John Mahoney was in it. It was weird. It was like all people who shouldn't be in that picture.
Just peeking in.
The boiling acid waiter was in it. Like
that'd been amazing. This movie is very charming because as much as like there's plenty of things you can tease about it, it's still the performances really like are push it. It's like I can see why it got, two of the actors got Oscars for it. And really, like we've said, with Mahoney and Cage, it kind of was elevating people left and right, and Dukakis, making people like either bigger stars or making them true stars.
Vincent Gardenia lost the Oscar to Sean Connery for The Untouchables.
And
it
was up for Best Picture.
It was up for Best Picture. It lost to The Last Emperor, which was a great film.
Mm-hmm.
And Cher won. Norman Jewison lost to Bernardo Bertolucci for Last Emperor.
Mm-hmm.
Cher won. Olympia Dukakis won. Nicolas Cage was not nominated, despite
losing his
saying
hand.
bread over and over again.
And losing it. But he's great. Like I said, it was actually fun to. I'm glad we watched these two because they came out the same year. And the fact that, he is definitely like underplaying, like in Pig, where people like, Pig was nothing like people thought it might be, because they thought it was going to be like Nicolas Cage kicks ass and screams and yells, and he doesn't. It's because Nicolas Cage doesn't have to go at 11. He just likes to, and he's very good at going at 11. So I like that Raising Arizona and this show him at two different operating levels, both very enjoyable.
Olympia Dukakis beat Ann Archer for Fatal Attraction. And she beat the two Anns of the 80s, Eric. She also beat Ann Ramsey from Throw Mama from the Train. Erwin.
I remember it was a big deal that Ann Ramsey got nominated for like a straight comedy. I mean, Moonstruck's a comedy as well, but I think romantic comedies get a little more leniency of like dipping their toes into drama, whereas Throw Mama from the Train is just like Kevin Kline, who won for Fish Called Wanda a year later, is just a comedy.
Well, the other big movie this year that got a lot of Oscar nominations, I don't think it won for anything. No, nothing top of the line anyway, was Broadcast News, which we brought up last week.
Yeah,
because Holly Hunter would become even more famous than she was in Raising Arizona for Broadcast News, including getting nominated for Best Actress Oscar, which she would now lose to Cher. Nicolas Cage's other co-star. Yeah. So.
Right. So I'm sure they saw each other at the Oscars.
And they were like, you.
We hate each other.
I hate you.
This movie is a great example of what people bemoan as far as movies that no longer can find this kind of success. Because this was a $15 million budgeted movie that made $122 million worldwide. So a huge hit. I put it into a inflation calculator, and that would be 290 million today. So it made the equivalent of making nearly $300 million for this movie. That doesn't happen these days because people only go to see superheroes or the equivalent, or dinosaurs.
Well, that was the big deal, and which sparked our conversation about doing a J-Lo movie-thon, which was that rom-coms do not get into theaters anymore, amongst other low-budgeted or other genre-type films that go straight to streaming, usually because of their lack of like special effects and or action and smaller budget. Rom-coms have become a full-on streaming thing. In fact, the same time that Marry Me opened, the one with Charlie Day went to Amazon.
With Jenny Slate, yeah.
Jenny Slate, like I Want You Back. That did not get theatrical release. That went the now typical route of rom-coms, which is streaming. Marry Me
was a simultaneous on Peacock.
So yeah, that's the other thing. Marry Me was available online as well. Sadly, Marry Me only made like $45 million, which is like not what a J-Lo rom-com would have made 15 years ago. But yeah, they just don't happen.
So this movie, is like, this is an era where, you have huge action movies. I mean, the 80s were filled with
Sleepless in Seattle and When Harry Met Sally, and like rom-coms were big business. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like someone like Nicolas Cage, who's just starting out, like it makes commercial sense that his people would tell him to do this movie, because you want to have your foothold in that world at this point. And as we'll talk about in the weeks to come, then it's another decade before he gets into like the full action mode, which is such a whole interesting twist on where he goes with his career.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you everyone for listening to our Moonstruck talk and enduring my sort of sick voice here, which isn't the the smoothest dulcet tone to listen to right now.
Hey, Matt, feel better.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Until next week, everything is possible, but nothing is real unless you're La Bella Luna. That's your Cosmo's moon and Shakma.
Son of a bitch, Shakma.